good evening to all of those that are top of the league. Welcome to the Same Old Arsenal podcast. Everybody well? Everybody happy? Right, tonight, you should be happy. Right, tonight joining me, I've got two Jameses, so we're going to have to sort this out. To the left of me, right of me, whatever way it looks like, we've got James Cookie, who I'm going to be calling Cookie all night. Welcome back to the show, James. You well?
I'm very well, Amanda. All the better for podcasting with you fine people.
Well, our host, he's sunning himself in San Francisco, isn't he? Although he did watch the game with the San Francisco Bay something. I don't know whoever they were. Sorry, 1 second. Something's come up on my screen. Oh, dear. Always happens, doesn't it? Right. Welcome to the show, everybody in the chat room. But I want to welcome my mate, James, LL Cool J. Welcome to the show, my lovely. This is the first time you've been on this show with me. But although we've known each other for so long.
Correct. Too long.
Shut up. I'm so happy you're finally back where you belong with me.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I'm here. So let's go far away. I'm ready.
First of all, tell people how you know me.
I know you from actually a bit like what you're doing to me tonight, which is burning my ears. I sat about 4 or 5 rows in front of you at Highbury from the 97-98. See, my first season was a good one. Yeah, we won the double in my first year going. So, yeah, it's been a upwards trajectory, then a downwards trajectory, but we're going back up again. You know, we're slowly getting there. You know,
aren't we just? So I didn't know that, James, that you sat in front of me. Excuse me, all those years, and that you knew my dad and everyone, and then we meet on Twitter, and then you tell me you sat in front of me.
Yeah.
It's so mad. Highbury feels like another lifetime ago, doesn't it?
Well, that's interesting you say that because a lot of people are talking about the atmosphere in the stadium at the moment and how great it is. And I've been to 2 games so far this season, witnessed it myself as well. And a lot of that, I think, is to do with, Amanda, is, and I mean, I'm only 31, so I'm not the oldest of Arsenal fans I know. But there is a generation of Arsenal fans that have never seen us win a league. They're only used to seeing us win FA Cups. So this for them, drink it all in and enjoy it because we got as good a chance as anything this year. I mean, it's a topsy-turvy year. People will go, it will have an asterisk next to it like the Liverpool one. I don't care. Why would
it have an asterisk next to it?
Because it's had a World Cup in the middle of it. You know,
it's even harder.
People like to make excuses, don't they? Especially when it comes to, that team that beat Liverpool last week are rubbish now that we've beaten 5-0. They're nobodies. They're relegation fodder again. Last week when they beat Liverpool, their season was turning around and they were brilliant. But now we've pumped them 5-0. They're rubbish now. They're awful again.
And this is why I love LL Cool J being on the podcast. Got a lot to say, and let's get started. First of all, welcome everyone to the chat room. Yes, Bay Area Gooners. That's where it was. That's who we watched it with. And we miss our Chris tonight. We miss the diva not being here, don't we, Cookie? Meanwhile, everyone thinks I'm a diva, and I'm the easiest going one on this podcast, I have to tell you. Right.
I couldn't comment on that.
Thank you, everyone. Looking forward to your questions and comments and everything later. Do you know, it's really interesting, isn't it? It's like, as you were saying, James, a lot of Arsenal fans have not seen us win the league. They're a bit like Tottenham fans, really, aren't they? They haven't seen them win the league. And because I've seen it all and been through it all, it's so amazing that this season, after everything we've been through in the last, 5, 6, 7 years, I'm literally drinking it in every second of it. I'm not worrying about if we're going to get anyone in January. I'm not worrying about the World Cup. I'm just loving every minute of it. And if you don't, you're going to miss out because I don't think we can win the league. That's never been in my trajectory. I've never thought we could even go for second at the beginning of the season. But now I'm like, come on, I don't want fourth. I want second or third. I think, we could do this. We could do this. But there are a few people now starting to think that it's possible. So I'm not on that train of thought. I think if it was about March or April time, you could talk to me. But at the moment, I'm just loving every minute of it. Obviously, apart from PSV last Thursday night, where we didn't turn up. It was awful. It was one of those bad days at the office that we've seen a lot with Arsenal. So with that in mind, Cooks, going into Sunday, I was on a Nottingham Forest podcast this week. Oh, by the way, I need to apologise to loads of Nottingham Forest fans.
Was that with Mark Goldbridge?
No, United.
Have it.
I saw what you did there. Really nice. Read something of the Trent. I can't remember. Carl will tell me. But I offended every Nottingham Forest fan. Apparently, you're not allowed to say Notts Forest. Now, I didn't know that because of Notts County. So apparently the podcast went really well until I said something about Notts Forest. So I'm apologising. I don't support Nottingham Forest, so I wouldn't know that. But it was a really, really good pod. And the reason I'm mentioning it is that I said 3-1. I said, you're going to come to the Emirates on Sunday. We're going to be buzzing. This was before PSV. I said, I fancy 3-1 on Sunday. We don't often keep clean sheets. And then obviously PSV happened and I started to waver a little bit. And I thought, we didn't play that well in the second half at Southampton. Leeds wasn't great. PSV, and all of a sudden you're starting to think, is this the Arsenal of old where we're going to go down that road of it's going to start to backfire? So, Cooks, with that in mind, was you positive on Sunday? Did you go into the game positive?
Yeah, I think so, because I mean, what we saw in the game against Southampton was in that first half, we were absolutely fantastic, and we know how we can play when we're on it. And it's just been like, if you look at our October in isolation, although some of the performances have wavered a little bit, the results have been really, really good. And that's because ultimately we've dug in and we've shown kind of a slightly muckier, dirtier side to Arsenal that we've not seen in recent years. So I was really pleased to see that. And the game against PSV didn't really knock my confidence at all. I don't like to say it, but going into that game, I certainly didn't want to say at the time, but I would have been surprised if we'd have come out of that game with a win. And I kind of half-heartedly expected PSV to get a result because they're at home, electric atmosphere. They needed the win. We didn't need the win. Comes down to it as simple as that. We made quite a lot of changes going into the game. Not saying that's an excuse. We had a lot of first teamers out there as well, but we didn't have the same motivation and drive to win that game as PSV did. Obviously, it would have been great to have at least gotten a point, gotten the group sewed up, but we've got another pop of the cherry this coming Thursday against the team that realistically, if we don't beat, then we don't really deserve to top the group. Let's be honest, we should be beating Zurich at home, even with rotation in the side. So yeah, I was still confident going into this game, and I didn't think it would be as emphatic as it was. So don't get me wrong, I'm incredibly pleased that we put 5 past them, kept a clean sheet, were as dominant as we have been at our most dominant this season. So I was really, really pleased to see that. But if you look back at Forest's previous couple of results, I think they'd only conceded 2 in their past 4 games. So to put 5 past them, I mean, it takes some doing. And I don't know if it would have happened if it wasn't for getting the goal so early on in the game. But even taking that into account, we scored early, then we kind of had a couple of...
Wait. You know what I like?
Okay, okay, I'll stop.
It's the beginning of the game because I'm going to bring James in now because you and I were at the stadium yesterday. So, James, how did you watch it? No comment.
Some great lads on Twitter have started to use what Periscope used to be to put the games on. And,
wow! Okay.
I must say I was very impressed with USA Network's coverage. It's very good.
So the thing is, I mean, it's a different feeling when you watch at home to when you're there. I mean, regardless of the atmosphere and things like that, obviously. But did you go into it confident? Because what people don't know, James, is that you and I have disagreed over the years over many things, Arsenal-wise.
When do we agree? It's very rare.
Yeah, do we agree? So I was a little bit hesitant. Only because I'd looked at Leeds and Southampton, although Southampton first half was a fantastic, awesome first half. We just didn't put our chances away. Going to the stadium yesterday, I met Uncle Melvin outside block 111.
Love him.
And he said, what did you predict? I said 3-1, but I'm not so sure. Maybe it's going to be a 1-0. I wasn't sure. I don't think many apart from that fan who won nearly £4,000, over £4,000, predicted 5-0. So after PSV, Jane, how did you feel?
I was a bit dejected after PSV, but a lot of people blame the rotation. And for me, I'm like, well, he's actually changed 6 players the whole time that we've been through the Europa League. So the rotation for me is not a problem. It's the lack of finishing, which at the moment is still not up to scratch from your centre forwards that you got, the 2 centre forwards that you're playing. However, you are getting goals from other people, which we'll touch on later on. But with PSV, in the end, I was gutted because he brought all the first teamers on. So at the end, it was basically like our first starting 11, which you'd have in the league. And then I thought, oh, that's going to be a kicker for Thursday, Sunday. And if you want to get into, somewhat questionable, oh, James, you might be a bit deluded there. I think the last 2 weeks of Premier League fixtures, Dean Henderson's arguably been the best player for the last 2 weeks in terms of what he's done in goal for Nottingham Forest in the 2 games that they played. So I thought this could be quite tough. They've gone to 5 at the back because they were leaking loads of goals. So I thought, look, that's going to be hard trying to break that down. Their goalkeeper's in good form. And I didn't have to worry, did I?
No.
Just went in there and slapped them up.
I mean,
someone was due a pasting, Amanda. For weeks, I've said someone's getting a pasting. I don't know when it's going to be, but we are slapping some. And I mean, I was talking about 4, 5, 6, and it's happened now. So hopefully,
and it's weird, wasn't it? Because when I was on the pod with the Nottingham Forest guy, we were talking about the Liverpool game, and they played really well at us. You can't deny Liverpool played very well at us. There was a few, they call it VAR decisions, but I think we deserved to win that. They go to Forest and Forest beat them, and they deserve to. And then Forest come to us, and I have to say, and we'll go into the first goal, I wasn't that impressed, if I'm honest. I didn't, and they were nervous about coming to us on Sunday. They were saying about keeping the score down and stuff like that. But you know what it's like with Arsenal? You just never know. You still can go back over those years where we're going to get beaten by a side where bottom of the league. And I find it interesting that a lot of my Spurs friends are like, oh, look at your fixture list. It's so easy. You don't support the Arsenal. You don't know what it's like when we've got someone easy. It doesn't work like that for us. If City were playing Nottingham Forest yesterday, they may have got 7 or 8, okay? But that would have been a guaranteed, wouldn't it? With us, you're never sure. So, James, we discussed this last week, and you're still confused. Sorry, Cookie. You're still confused, aren't you, about Tierney and Tomiyasu? Look, I'm just going to put my point out there, and I'll let you two speak. I don't know what's going on. I don't understand it. I love Tomiyasu and I love Tierney. There must be a reason. Maybe an injury we don't know about, that he can't play for 90 minutes. Attitude, which I can't believe, because I think he's got a great attitude, Tierney. So I'm a little bit stuck with the plan here. Cookie, you're not keen on it, are you?
No, definitely not. And I'm starting to understand more why he's doing it. And I think it's because he views Tomiyasu as the guy that can fill into that midfield role when we're pushing and pressing in the way that Zinchenko does. I just feel that we miss so much of an attacking threat that Tierney offers. And the frustrating thing for me is that he came in the league in that game away from home against Brentford, thought he was absolutely fantastic. And we've not really seen him since in the league. And I think he should be frustrated with that, because I'm certainly frustrated with it. And he must feel a little bit hard done by, because I think Tomiyasu, I've got nothing bad to say about him yesterday. I thought he was great. And I thought his performance, doesn't deserve any criticism whatsoever. But I do think you miss an attacking outlet going forwards. But if you look at the positives, he was the one that won the ball that led to our opening goal in the first 5 minutes. So you can't really knock the guy. And he always works hard. Great defender.
Oh yeah.
You can trust him kind of wherever he is on that back line. But I think especially when you're at home against Forest, you can kind of sacrifice that defensive stability to have someone who's going to bomb forward, put cross after cross after cross into the box. Tierney is someone that hugs the touchline. And I think because of that, Arteta preferences someone that's going to tuck into the midfield a bit more. And Tomiyasu, because he's inverted, maybe he's a bit better at doing that. I thought Tierney was doing it okay when he was in the team. but it's obviously not a role that he's entirely comfortable playing. And I think there could also be a slight fitness concern there potentially with the World Cup coming up as well. I know obviously he's not going, but Arteta might be thinking, we need this guy fit and firing come January because we've got a lot of fixtures then. Maybe we want to keep him fresh as a daisy. And then after a month's break, he can be the first choice left back because we still don't really know what's going on with Zinchenko. So maybe he's, wrapping Tierney in cotton wool because we don't know, how long Zinchenko is going to be out for. I mean, that just seems to be so elusive. It's such a mystery. It's really frustrating that we don't know what's going on there. So, yeah, I'm frustrated by it, but I'm sure we'll see Tierney again on Thursday. And then I'm sure, hopefully, it won't be too long before we see him starting in the league. The worry I've got is that if he doesn't start playing games in the league, then I think we can all agree we wouldn't really begrudge him trying to push for a move away.
James, I don't know your thoughts on this Tierney Tommy situation. I feel really bad because I absolutely adore both players. So I get sort of a little bit upset when I think, I'd like Tierney there, but I love Tomiyasu. And it's tough because Ben White is playing out of his skin at right back. And then you got Saliba and Gabriel. You just wouldn't swap it, would you? So what do you think's going on there?
I think Cookie summed it up brilliantly. It's the Thursday, Sunday. He doesn't want to play him twice in 1 week, like starting. So until that's obviously finished, I don't think he's going to get his minutes. Plus, Tomiyasu did so well in that Liverpool game. And, for all that you can praise Mikel, he's still a very stubborn man, like most football managers are. And when he stumbles on something that does really well, especially against a big team like that, he's not going to change. And Tomiyasu, like Cookie said as well, is so much more better at inverting and playing in that central role because he actually plays centre-back for Japan. So he can play in the middle as well as playing out wide. You've got one of the most ambidextrous footballers going in Tomiyasu. So you utilise it as best you can. And I had no problems with him yesterday. But for me, Tierney, I think, seeing Cedric come on before him, probably did it probably rattled him a bit. I'm not going to lie. It would have, if I was Tierney, it'd have upset me. But I don't know what I think it's purely a fitness thing. I don't think there's nothing there in terms of they've had a falling out or anything.
No.
Maybe he batters Paella. I don't know. It might be something that he's done that's upset Mikel. You never know. Well,
it's interesting, isn't it? Right. So I'm just going to put some comments up. I think I remember Arteta saying that Tierney needs to show he deserves to start. Andy, thank you for that. I have mentioned this. No one is mentioning that Tierney's injuries and subsequent lack of reliability would have played a part in Arteta's selection choices. Thank you, P.A. White. Lynn, evening. With KT, I feel that Arteta is unsure with his knee and they're trying to manage his injury this season, which I think is a massive part of it. And P.A. White, again, saying Arteta loves reliable players. He is a little bit injury prone, isn't he? So he could be managing it. Like when people used to kick off about Saliba being on loan for God knows how long and Arteta doesn't know what he's doing. So maybe there is a masterstroke going on here somewhere that we're just not aware of. Anyway, let's go back to so we've got the team out. It is the same team as the game before, sorry. And it was a really interesting atmosphere yesterday, Cookie. I don't know if you agree with me. I'm just going to mention something that it was quiet for me yesterday. I wasn't used to that. And I think a lot of that is to do with the Ashburton Army, who I have to say are phenomenal. And I absolutely love them. And what they've only done for this club and for the clock end and the atmosphere, I flipping love it. What I didn't like was the drum. And I think the drum stopped a lot of songs. So I found the atmosphere was just hearing a drum. Now, apparently they've got a new skin on their drum. Apparently they've had it years. I've never heard it. So I thought the away fans had brought it in because Nottingham Forest were pretty loud yesterday. And I don't know what you felt, Cooks, though, with that. Did it annoy you? Did you like it? I missed the singing. I just missed a bit more. And then it felt odd having a drum playing and a song. It just didn't match for me. But I love them. Don't get me wrong. I absolutely love them.
Yeah, I've only got good things to say about them. I mean, it's like we've got about an eighth of the Dortmund stadium in our ground at the minute. And fair play to them. I mean, what they're doing is
Yeah, I love them.
is fantastic because we've lacked that. I think particularly in the clock ends. I think the North Bank atmosphere has always been pretty on point, but in the clock end, it's. I mean, I used to sit there before I got my season ticket in the North Bank, and it was never quite as good as you wanted it to be. And I know that's what the part of the stadium where the up and coming fans tend to sit. So to know that the future of the club is in such loud hands, I suppose, for use of a better term, is really encouraging to see. And hopefully at some point we can get that kind of atmosphere going around the stadium. I do agree with you on the drum. I wouldn't go as far as saying it was annoying. I thought it was a nice added touch, but fair play to the guy who was banging it relentlessly for 90 plus minutes, because that takes some doing. That's a really good workout. But like you say, I mean, it did interrupt a bit of the atmosphere. I mean, where I was sat in the North Bank, got that classic chant, with the North Bank, Highbury, just singing it at like full volume as well. It just wasn't getting to the clock end.
No,
they just couldn't hear it. So yeah, I mean,
it.
in that sense, yeah, it did kill the atmosphere. And in the first half, I do think it was a little bit flat. But in the second half, mainly because of the goals that went in, I think the atmosphere was incredible, as it has been at so many times this season. But yeah, you're pretty spot on. It did make the atmosphere in that first half a little bit tricky to get involved in.
I remember sitting there thinking, God, it's like last year. It's a bit dull, and 2:00 on a Sunday, and we were playing well. Although let's just start with the game, actually, because I didn't actually think we started that well, to be honest. I mean, the goal obviously aside, I didn't think we were that great, to be honest. And I remember saying to Cole next to me, we're not brilliant, are we? I thought I wanted us to come out like we did at Southampton and go for it. So, James, we kick off. Nottingham Forest came down my end, which is like illegal. It should be down the other end because I'm down the North Bank end. And then we just score the most beautiful of goals. Talk us through it.
Yeah. Well, it's a bit like what Cookie said earlier. Tomiyasu wins it back brilliantly, playing in that higher up where he's been, lays it off. Martinelli starts moving after he lays it off to Saka. Saka whips the ball in brilliantly, and it's a wonderful, wonderful diving header from Martinelli. What more can you say? You go 1-0 up, 5 minutes in, and that's like what you said. I'm thinking, here we go. Let's turn it up. Let's do these lot in the first half, and then we can get the subs on and worry about Thursday. And it was typical of what happens normally under Arteta lately, is that we do score and then we sit back and invite the teams on. When I want us to be a bit more, I think we're good enough to actually, we've seen it now. We did win 5-0. I think we should be smashing teams from the off. I don't think we need to sit back like that. I mean, we were only a silly minute from Gabriel away from, strictly come Lingard scoring, It's
Jesus, we'll get back to that bit. Oh, my life. So it was beautiful. It was, wasn't it, Cooks? It was such an amazing goal. The stadium erupted. But a couple of minutes before that, I think Saka had a bad injury on him, or was it after, where they kicked him and took him out? Was it after?
Yeah, we scored within the 5 minutes. It was 8 minutes when he got his. They kept going back and forth on the program that I was watching, saying I think it's when he gets kicked here, but it could have been any of them. It could have been any of them.
And I want to talk about that actually in a second. I said to Carl, this don't look good. I know he got up. I know he came back on, but I was watching him off the ball when play was going, and he was constantly digging his leg down to try and, and I thought, no, just no. I personally don't really care about the World Cup. It's always been club over country for me. So if he's going to do it, can he do it at Wolves away in the last few minutes and then recover? And that's me being selfish. I know how much Saka wants to go to the World Cup, but it was so sad to watch. And then obviously, when did he go off? Was it the first half? He couldn't last, could he? And then obviously, I did feel very sorry for Reese Nelson. I did at the beginning. How do you feel Saka's boots? I mean, it's tough, and it wasn't even a planned substitute. It was forced, obviously. We're 1-0, both of you. I couldn't say we were cruising, but they weren't very good, were they, James?
No. Obviously, like I said, they had their 2 chances and they fluffed their lines. For me, going back on what you're saying about Saka, I know that boy will not take himself out of the fire.
No.
But it's a bit like, next to football, my favourite sport's UFC. And at UFC at the weekend, a guy went for a big kick and he planted his leg and it went like that and it buckled. And at the end of the round, the doctor come in, and they do this every UFC. You'll have a bloke who's like eyeballs hanging down here, half of his, but he'll go, "No, I'm fine. And the doctor just goes, "Okay," and then they take one hit, and then that's it. It finishes. That's exactly what happened at the weekend. The guy kicked him in the leg that he buckled straight away, fell on the floor. Our fight's over. So Saka's not going to go to Mikel, "I'm injured," or tell the physio, whoever it is, "I'm injured." That's where, for me, the manager should have gone, "I don't care. I'm doing it. I'm protecting you from yourself because," and James, your pinned tweet on Twitter, you've got Jack Wilshere in that picture. Jack Wilshere's younger than me, but he now coaches under 18s because he was walloped all throughout of his career and he couldn't handle it. And we played him too much. We played him more than he should have been playing. That was Saka's 50th consecutive game in the league. That's too much. I know how reliable he is. I know how good he is, but he should not be playing 50 league games in a row. That's ridiculous.
But the thing is, I would say, James, though, at each game of this season, he's getting better and better and better. He started off slower, which I know what you're saying, but some players can play constantly. I think he's one of them. If you look at Tierney, maybe Partey, they can't do it. And I understand a lot of people said that as well, but I want to go into something that Tracy's just brought up because I went mad about this. It is obscene the way he constantly fouled, needs some protection from refs.
Yeah, but you're never going to get it.
Why is he not getting that?
Because sadly, there's been an undertone with Arsenal since probably when we went from the Invincibles to we went to that era where Arsene got obsessed with Barcelona and thought that he could have small, intricate, tippy-tappy, tick-a-tacker players in the Premier League, and they got battered and we got injured and we didn't win anything for ages because he was obsessed with this way of football that was never going to work in England, and Arsenal are perceived as a soft touch. And sadly, that's never, ever going to go away. The refs, the media, everyone thinks Arsenal's a soft touch. So sadly, you're never going to get protections from the referee. So as a manager, like Mikel Arteta is, and it's the only slight little criticism I have of the guy, he needs to manage the minutes of those players. I know he said that the top players play 70 games and everything else like that, but he was comparing him to Ronaldo, to Messi, and I can't remember who the third one was, but they've been doing it for 20 years.
Right,
This guy's only been a first-team player for 3 to 4 years.
James, Ant CL1082, thank you. We weren't in Europe last season. Saka had plenty of rest.
Yeah, but he comes straight off the Euros after playing 30. He played 38 consecutive games in the league.
But he never looks like he's fatigued. He doesn't look like he's buzzing at the moment.
I know that, and sadly, he has to play because there are times where he's bailing us out. Until someone else gets to, hopefully Reese Nelson's that guy now, but until someone else gets to the level where you can reliably go to Saka, I'm going to pull you out of this one.
Yeah.
It's very, I know they're totally different players, but it's very reminiscent to Michael Owen when he was at Liverpool when he was younger. They had nobody else that could do what he did. And look what happened to Michael Owen. Michael Owen ended up barren for half of his career.
But the thing is, though, all right, I'm going to bring Cookie in here. He does deserve some protection, though, doesn't he? As everyone can see, I didn't lie at the beginning. Me and LL Cool J, we go at each other the whole pod, don't we, darling?
Well, I'm just saying, he's never going to get the protection
from the refs. And he should get some protection.
Of course
he's not a dirty player.
No.
He doesn't even dive. Cooks.
Yeah, he gets booked for dives that he doesn't even make.
True. What do you take on the Saka situation? Do you think he should be rested? Listen, Reese Nelson did a fantastic job yesterday. It was against Nottingham Forest. I think we need to rein that slightly in a little bit. At the moment, I'm thrilled for the boy and he deserved his chance. But Saka, I don't know. I just think I'd play him as much as I could, if I'm honest. I love watching Bukayo Saka. But Cooks, do you think he needs to rest? Do you think the refs are ever going to give him some protection?
I mean, it was pretty well summed up in that game last week, wasn't it? When he got booked for getting fouled. So I think, we've already got the answer to that question. It's always been the case with Bukayo Saka. It's because of the nature of his game. The same as it was with, players like Rosicky, like Wilshere, players that like to take men on, run with the ball, get brought down. Oh, it's part of their game, this is what it is. It shouldn't be like that. And, there's been an accumulation of fouls on Saka that just have been, by the by, they've just been completely ignored. So it's unfortunately just ingrained into refereeing mentality in this country. I'm sure Saka isn't the only player that is kind of a complainant of this. Complainant? That's the word. Of this, because there will definitely be other players at other clubs who experience similar issues. But it's just so damn obvious with him, and especially for a player that is, he's just won England's Player of the Year or nominated England Player of the Year. There's a lot of pressure on him going to the World Cup. Surely you would think it's in the best interests of this country to protect him.
Yeah.
And
where Harry Kane gets protected, it's bizarre, isn't it? It's absolutely bizarre. Sorry, England captain. I'm just going to bring Andy Love in. I think it's quite a good point. I think opposing teams feel that kicking Saka rattles him and he starts gesturing to the referee. Perhaps he needs his teammates to protest the referee to make it obvious what's going on. You never really see that, do you?
Because they know they don't care.
Yeah, but they should care. He's precious metal.
It's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. Unfortunately, someone put it in there. Until you start to win things, or you're doing extremely well, then sometimes the decisions go your way. I mean, he was one of my favourite ever players, but you can't sit there and tell me Robert Pires never dived. He used to dive loads.
Yeah.
And we get penalties and we'd score them in games. Oh, I didn't care at the time. We were winning everything. It was amazing. But until you are perceived as the big team, the decisions start to go your way. Look at Liverpool when I was calling them Liverpool for a while. Everything was going their way. Everything. So
I think just to quickly chip in on this, where was VAR yesterday? I mean, if we said it against Southampton, but that Gibbs White challenge on Xhaka, where is the review for that? I mean, it's been 2 games in a row that there's been no VAR whatsoever. It's mental.
It's bizarre that if that were Xhaka,
he's in Alcatraz.
Straight red. Yeah. Absolutely. And it's bizarre. I just want to bring a few comments in. This is really sweet. Osman, Amanda's the most natural out of all the football YouTubers I've seen. She's made for this. I hope she never leaves again. I didn't leave. I just had a break from certain podcasts to this one. So that's really sweet of you. Thank you for that. Newman. I love my Newman. All attacking players get fouled. Look at Zaha kicked to pieces. Doesn't make it right, though, does it? Doesn't make it right. Okay, so let's go on. So we hit half-time. It's 1-0. The rain starts coming down. You're sitting there going, right. And I tweeted and I put, I hope we come out and play the second half. And like the last 2 second halves, one can hope. And obviously that got retweeted quite a few times after what happened. So, Cooks, second half, we got Reese Nelson on, obviously, doing pretty well. 1-0. Tell us what happened in the first few minutes. It was incredible.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, I had mixed feelings going into that second half because I didn't think we ended the first half particularly strongly. So, given the second halves we've had in recent weeks, I was thinking, oh God, this could be a bit of a cagey affair. But I mean, just very quickly going back to the first half, we did have 2 very good chances to score. There was that Martinelli one that was put on a plate for him, and Jesus had that one that just went a couple of inches wide of the post. If we score both of them, we're out of sight. So I think that's been overlooked a little bit. But going out into that second half, I mean, we couldn't have asked for a better way to start it. And I'm buzzing for Reese Nelson, I've got to say, because he's a player that I'll hold my hands up and say I've never been convinced by, just because I always feel like whenever he's played and started, he's been on the periphery of games, and he's done some good things, but he's never done enough for me to think, okay, this guy's getting really involved. He doesn't, I don't know how I can best describe it, but Saka, he's there, he's playing. With Reese Nelson, you're kind of like, oh, yeah, I almost forgot he was on the pitch. But he was everywhere yesterday. I think in that first half he struggled a little bit. There are a lot of times where I was just thinking, come on, Reese, just beat your man. And he was passing it back to the midfield and then get it again, pass it back into the midfield. But in that second half, he just ran and ran and ran, was taking players on. That chance he created for himself to score the goal, I mean, absolutely fantastic. Drop of the shoulder, was really unlucky with the first shot, and then the natural ability, the instinct to just take that second one and put it so far away from Henderson into the roof of the net. I mean, we'll get onto the other goals later, but what a way to introduce yourself as this kind of reincarnation almost. That's the wrong word, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
This revived player. So I'm not getting carried away and thinking, this is our solution to the alternative wide man to Saka, because what I will say about Nelson is it was fantastic yesterday. I'm over the moon for him. He couldn't have taken the opportunity any better, but he needs to show consistency. And if he is to play, whether it be on Thursday, whether it be against Chelsea, he needs to put in that sort of performance. I don't expect him to get goals and assists every game, but I expect him to turn up and be a big part of the team, because that's exactly what Saka is when he's not scoring or assisting. He's known on the pitch. It's very obvious he's playing and he makes things happen. And that's what I feel Nelson hasn't had in this game, but he certainly had that yesterday. So against better opposition, I really hope to see it. And fair play to him, because I was initially surprised when he was the option to come off the bench. I thought it would be Marquinhos. I thought the one that we would initially turn to would be play Eddie out wide, and thank God we didn't do that. But no, I'm really happy for him, and yeah, long may it continue for him.
So I'm a little bit like you with Reese Nelson. I do feel he needs to show consistency, but it's hard for him. He's not consistently getting games, is he, LL Cool J?
No, when he has, it's a lot like some of our players. He hasn't took the opportunities when they've come to him. When he scored against Liverpool, obviously after they won the league, you thought, oh, okay, this is your time. And it just didn't happen for him. And, it's a weird one, because out of all the players that we've got at Hale End, this was the guy that was talked about the most. It's a bit like at Man United when they had the class of 92. Alex Ferguson was telling you all the time that Nicky Butt is the best. And then out of nowhere come Ryan Giggs and just wiped all of them. And Nicky Butt, okay, he did do well for himself, but he was never at the level. And Nelson was that guy. But then, like we've seen, Smith Rowe, Saka, come along, smacks him out the way. And he come out there and he done the job. And do you know what? I'm happy for him. It was a bit like last season. We took Eddie out of the cold, brought him in, and he done really well, didn't he, against Chelsea? He done really well in that Man United game. I know he got a goal, but then obviously got chalked off, didn't it? And then Saka scored the penalty instead, which was brilliant. So long may it continue. I hope he plays Thursday, and I hope he scores again, because we need goals. When your striker's not scoring, but he's still doing the business. I'm not slagging him off before anybody starts. I think he's absolutely amazing, Amanda. I won't have any slander towards that man.
Wait, let's go on to that in a second.
No, he done brilliantly, and I hope he does start. I know that people might go, "Oh, we'll play Marquinhos on the right on Thursday because he's naturally left-footed and he likes it." No. I hope he keeps Nelson in there.
Okay, that's cool. And sorry, I can't read that. And CL1082. Nelson might be one of those players that develop later in their career. And for once, we might have a manager that actually knows what he's doing for developing players, but we'll have to wait and see on all of that. Okay, so I've lost. I don't know when Partey scored. Was he the fourth goal or was it the fifth goal?
He was the fourth.
Right, so Nelson gets 2 in it felt like in seconds. 3-0 up. And I mean, it's just funny, isn't it? That when you look at Partey's goal against Tottenham and Partey's goal yesterday, I don't think there's much in it. It's unbelievable. What a shot, Cooks. You're in the North Bank, so that was coming towards you, wasn't it?
Oh, it was. But quickly, I just want to talk about that third Reese Nelson goal, because that was liquid football.
Was this the Jesus assist? That lovely assist.
Yes.
That one.
Yeah,
okay, fine.
I loved that goal so much. And I know the Partey goal was fantastic, but what a team goal that was. I mean, it's nothing's ever going to come close to that Wilshere goal against Norwich back in 2013. But these goals are Arsenal. Like, that is Arsenal. when you see those goals. The way the ball was moving so quickly, the accuracy from Jesus to put that on a plate for Nelson when the box is teeming with Forest players, and for Nelson to finish in the way that he did, not giving Henderson a chance. Oh, I mean, I could talk about that goal all day long, but it was followed up by an arguably even better one. That strike from Partey. I mean, how long have we been waiting for him to put these balls in the back of the net? And my God, is he taking them so well. Again, another really good bit of awareness from Nelson, because he could have quite easily not looked up and just put that ball into the box. But he saw Partey steaming in and, put it on a plate for him. And, I mean, the curve he got on that ball, when you look at it, it goes so far out the post and then comes back in. I mean, it's identical to the Spurs one, but I mean, I had my hands over my mouth when that went in. We were treated yesterday. I mean, I know we've got another goal to talk about as well, but the quality of all the goals we scored was absolutely fantastic. And I think it was exactly what the doctor ordered after the frustrating performances we've seen. I mean, that was Arsenal yesterday. I think we could all agree on that.
Oh, that was beautiful. I mean, if you're going to go for goal of the month for October, Partey's got to win one of them, isn't he? Either Spurs or that one. I don't know how you'll pull that apart because it looks so similar. So the fifth goal, remind me, because I was so lost enjoying myself. Who actually assisted on the fifth goal?
Jesus again.
Right. I want to talk about Jesus in a second. We were so willing for Jesus to score yesterday. I was like, I don't care how it goes in. I just want it to go in, because I know there would be some sections of the Arsenal fans around this globe that are going to be critical of him. So before anyone was critical, I put a tweet out saying, I should actually read the tweet, but basically what I was trying to say was he gives so much to that team. He works so hard. He's tenacious. He is wonderful. And you know what? There's a part of me that's not that fussed he's not scoring because other people are scoring. Obviously, if we weren't scoring, it might be a different matter, but we are scoring. We've got a nice goal difference now, helped by yesterday. He is wonderful. He is... Oh my God, I love him. And he's going to give a pasting soon, LL Cool J, to someone. I'm telling you, there's going to be a hat trick. He'll score 2 in 2 minutes and then it'll just be off. And he's done 5 assists and 5 goals in 12 games. Okay. It's not terrible. So when people are saying, yeah, but you want your number 9 to score, that's when no one else is scoring. Okay. We want everyone. Our dream has always been for goals to come from everywhere. Yeah. And that's what we've got. So go on, James. You talk about Jesus.
Yeah. Oh, just what a player. What a player. I mean, you're so right as well, which is weird. We're agreeing on something, Amanda. This is a first. You know, this is exclusives for your listeners and viewers. I'm used to seeing an Arsenal team, especially in the last couple of years. We were so reliant on Robin van Persie. Sorry to mention that man's name. If he didn't score, we didn't win. Then it went to, if Aubameyang doesn't score, we don't win. Now we're getting goals from all over the park and people are moaning, oh, he cost 45 million quid. I'm sorry, he's doing... If you don't score, what's the next best thing that you can do? Set it up for someone else. Good on him. Good on him. And you know what? Yesterday, he had 2 sitters and he should have scored them both. But I'm not worried because... I would be panicking if he didn't get himself in those positions.
Yep.
You know, he's exactly what this team needed. Seeing Lacazette last season on the halfway line when he should be in the box was an absolute joke. This guy's got movement. This guy's raised the level of all the players that are around him. They said the minute that him and Zinchenko come in the club, both of all the other players went, oh God, we've got to step it up now because these guys they win it all the time. These guys ain't used to being second, third, fourth, or 2-8 finishes. We're number 1, so we got to step up, and they all have. I think they've all got better because of those 2 players in there as well.
Oh, I was going to say that, but I'm going to let you continue. But I just want to ask you a question. He gives everything. Have we seen a player like this? Alexis Sanchez, he reminds me a little bit of how much energy and speed he had. But I even think he's more tenacious than Sanchez was, and we've always wanted this sort of player. So I know it sounds a bit odd, but I don't really care he's not scoring at the moment. as I said, James, LL,
Yeah.
if we weren't scoring from places, it might a little bit, be a bit gutted, and we need him to score and everything. But what he gives to our team,
Yeah, and he's so deceptively strong as well. He's not the biggest of blokes, but I defy you to try and take the ball off him. He is a strong lad. Amazing player. And the 5th goal, by the way, Odegaard. I love this bloke. I know he gets a lot of bad flack on Twitter for some reason. I have no idea why. I absolutely adore this man. What annoys me is he's got to be the most subbed captain this season, which for me I don't like. I like having my captain all the way. I know I moaned earlier about resting players and giving them time. I want my captain to do 90 minutes at least. My captain's got to play 90 minutes. And I tell you what, if you're in a game that you need to chase, Odegaard's your man. If you're chasing a game or you need to win a game, he can play that one ball that can get you the chance to get that goal. He's that good. And I tell you what, in tight spaces, I don't know if there's a better player in the league than him in that tight space. That way that he wiggled through and jinkied and smashed it the other day. If Kevin De Bruyne is the salt beef, then Odegaard's a Reuben. He's the second best one. He's the second best one.
But you know what? I feel like I'm always protecting Odegaard on social media. I feel like, I mean, I love him like you, Jones. Again, we're agreeing. I've rated him since day one, and I thought we were so lucky to sign him. And people were moaning. I can't stand it. I think I'm just old school. Over 50 I am, and it's so different from when I go to football years ago to social media. And I often think that. I've always said that on the pods. A lot of people I sit around are probably not even on social media, so I'm used to chatting to sensible people who discuss.
Amanda, do you remember when Arsene Wenger, I think it was after the Brighton game in the FA Cup, Thomas Rosicky smashed one in. And after the game, he asked him, because he'd been injured and everything else. And Arsene Wenger went, if you don't like him, then you don't like football, or you don't love football. It was something like that. I can't remember the quote off the top. That's how I feel about Odegaard.
Yeah.
Even I've got mates that support the other side that go, oh, I like him though. He's worth your ticket money, isn't he, watching him? And I'm like, yeah, he is. Yeah, he is. Love him.
James Cooks, talk about Jesus for a little bit, and then we can talk about Odegaard, our favourite subject.
Cool. I think you guys have pretty much summed it up very well on Jesus. I'm not sure what else I can add that's going to do him any more justice. But, I mean, he is everything we've wanted in a striker. I mean, like you said, JJ, comparing him to Lacazette last season. I mean, fair play to Lacazette, by the way. I think he's tearing up League One at the minute. But he just wasn't cut out for the Premier League last season. And it was like playing with 10 men at times. And what I like about Jesus is, he does come deep. He comes very deep at times. There were times where he was running right into our defensive thirds, but he makes sure he's back at the other end when he needs to be. So he's an all-round team player. And I really, at the minute, I'm really not fussed about the lack of goals. I mean, we say lack of goals. I mean, he's got 5 in 12, which isn't like an awful return. And when you weigh in that he's got 5 assists on top of that, I mean, 10 goal contributions in 12 games. People think that's bad. That's really bloody good. So fair play to him. If he ended the season with that kind of ratio, what a season he'd have had. I mean, if he ends the season with 15 goals and 15 assists, wow, that would be incredible. And think of the amount of contributions he'd be giving to Saka, to Martinelli, to Odegaard, to Xhaka, potentially to Partey. And the fact we're getting these goals from all areas of the pitch, it's fantastic to see. And if people like Nelson can step up to the plate and score goals, if someone like Eddie can come in and score goals, if someone like Vieira can come and do it, then, we've got a lot of options. And it's exciting.
The options thing is the best thing, isn't it? It really is. I forget about Vieira and stuff. Can I
just jump in? The point I want to make as well is our first main 11, obviously, is Zinchenko at left back and the rest of what we've played all season. But then if he's out, it's Tomiyasu now, Every single one of those players has a goal contribution apart from Ramsdale. All of them have got an assist or a goal. And we're only 12 games in. That's why I said the level has increased since those 2 players have arrived. And it's amazing.
Sorry, go on, James. You finished?
Well, no. For me, it's more of a team than it used to feel so individual at Arsenal. Now it's a collective. And that's even with fans, management, board, everything. And that's why you've got to love what's happening at the moment. I think it's going to last. I've said I think we're going to win the league. I'm going for it. I'm giddy.
Wow.
I'm full of the dopamine, mate. I'm going nuts.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? And think about this as well, as Carl Stark says, we've still got ESR to come back. He'll be like a new signing in January, won't he? Bless
And
him.
Elneny. Don't forget him.
Huh?
Elneny.
Bless him. He's back in training, I think. But I think you've actually hit the nail on the head. And actually, it's a really good way to describe it, James, is that we're more of a team. So it don't really matter if Ben White gets a hat-trick and Jesus doesn't. It doesn't matter. It really, really doesn't. The goal difference could count. I mean, it was lovely to get a clean sheet yesterday. Clean sheets never bother me. As long as we win, I couldn't care less. Honestly, it's not a big thing for me.
No, that was massive yesterday. That was the first one since March. That was huge.
And I understand that.
Huge.
And it's a big deal, but 3 points is more important to me than worrying about. I'd rather win, 2-1, 3-1 than not win, obviously. But overall, wonderful, beautiful goals. We love Odegaard. We love Jesus. We love them all. But there is one person that I swear I just want to have a word with. Right, this was right in front of where we sat. Gabriel passes to Lingard in the box. I swear. I don't know what... Cooks, what was he doing?
I honestly couldn't tell you. If there was one player who was going to put... I mean, God forbid he'd have scored. Like, I can't even imagine the celebration that would have come out. So thank God he didn't. And before we talk about how bad that was from Gabriel, let's talk about how good it was from Ben White to block it. I mean, summed up what was a fantastic performance again yesterday. For me, the league's most underrated player, but we're not talking about that. Gabriel, he has these brain farts a lot.
He does.
He seems to be averaging one every 2 games at the minute, and these aren't small mistakes. Like, these are quite big mistakes. I don't want to say it too loudly, but I mean, he had all the time in the world to do whatever he wanted to do with that ball yesterday. I mean, Saliba had done really well to win it back. He can either pass it to Xhaka, who's right in front of him. He's got plenty of space, or he can boot the ball out and, the danger goes away immediately. It might come back at us, but at least it's out of the way for the time being. And he does probably the most difficult thing to do in that situation and pass it on a plate for Lingard. It would have been a beautiful assist. But I don't know why... I don't know what goes through his head. Like, I don't know what causes these lapses in concentration, but it just seems to be something it's part of his game. It's part of his nature. And it's just, I don't know how you coach that out of him. What I will say is, I thought he was great yesterday, apart from that moment. I love his combative nature. I love that, he's kind of the opposite of Saliba. Yes, he can play a good ball, and he's not got the composed nature, let's be honest. But he's kind of that old-fashioned, rock at the back, puts a hard crunching tackle in, can man-mark someone really well. But it's just these silly moments. I do think if there's one area of the pitch we can upgrade on, it is that bit of the pitch. But I wouldn't be in a rush to do it. Thankfully, these mistakes aren't costing us. And, when you compare it to someone like Mustafi, he more than makes up for the mistakes that someone like Mustafi would have made. So, I am slightly concerned by the common nature of them. They seem to be more common this season than they have been in previous years gone by. But, he's still been fantastic, and he's a big part of the reason why we are currently top of the league. But a bit of healthy competition for him at left centre-back, I don't think that would go amiss.
Okay, so Robert Stevens has come up with a good point. I think he's playing with a lot of pressure on him just because of their arrival, Saliba. What do you think on that, James?
I don't think so. I think he's adapted really well, because the partner that he had last season is now playing at right back. But what that's done since the start of the season, you saw it even from pre-season, meant that we could play a higher line. They are so far up, and you do sort of crap yourself a little bit, if I'm allowed. I won't say the other word. I'll say crap. No. We'll get away with that one, hopefully. And do you know what? Them two are so good. They're so good together. Apart from that one lapse, they were brilliant the rest of that game.
Yeah.
And it is so long. I think it's since I've seen Toure and Campbell that you've got 2 6-foot-plus blokes that are going, if you want to physical it, I'll have a ding-dong with you. I'll have a scrap. If you want to have a foot race, I'll have a foot race with you, because I'll beat you in that. And if you want to play football and pass the ball about and spread the ball about, I'm better than you at that as well. Both of them. It's amazing. I love them both.
I think you touched on it before, Cooks, when you went, I'm not going to talk about him, but Ben White, the most underrated player in this league. I have to say that. I might be being a bit generalisation, but what a player. And you know what I love about him? He's just quiet and gets on with the game. You don't see him in the papers.
He's getting a bit nasty the last couple of games, and I love it.
Well, good for him. We need a bit of shithousery.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, you've said it now. Okay, yeah. Oh, well, you're the host.
Yeah, we say shithousery. I'm the host.
You're the host. Yeah, yeah.
I'll get told off by Craig. Don't worry. Yeah, no. I just think with Gabriel, he has won every game, doesn't he? And then plays fantastic. So, but also goals are coming from that side and assists as well. It's just brilliant. And I mean, James, we were talking about Saka last week because Suburban Gooner and Cooks asked me a question about, I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago, would I give Xhaka a new contract? And I said, no, I wouldn't. I don't want anything. I think he should go to Roma. How wrong was I? Oh, my life. We could talk about him the whole pod and what a captain he's turned out to be. And he's got rid of all that silliness with the red cards and the idiotic tackles. And then you've got Martinelli playing well. And do you know what? I mean, we can round it up to the fact that we're doing really, really well. And it's so wonderful to watch and see. And you get that buzz now when you go to an away game. I mean, we're going to talk about Zurich and Chelsea in a second, but, we can do it. And as you say, James, you believe that we could win the league, and that's great. Yeah. I'm not at that stage, not on the last day, not on Halloween. I couldn't. Come on. I'm not there yet. Talk to me, Feb. That might change it. But it's just so wonderful to see the beautiful football and the fact that we're smiling about our players. I mean, people should really appreciate the Odegaards, the Sakas, Thomas Partey. Wow. And unfortunately, we do need to find another Thomas Partey in January because the reason
you can't, Amanda.
I know, but we've got to find someone that's nearly as good.
It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. He's that. When we signed him, he was better than every midfielder that we had at the club before he even kicked the ball.
Yeah.
And when he's on full form, like he was yesterday and like he was in the Brentford game, like I said earlier about how I enjoy watching Odegaard. Oh my God. You can sit and watch that guy ping the ball about, chaperone that back four.
But James, people are moaning about him. This is the thing. We have to give players patience. They need to settle. It's like starting a new job. But it's just... and I'm just going to bring this comment on from Sultan Murad Han. What a fantastic name. I haven't had this feeling since 2002. It's unbelievable. And I get that. It's exciting. And I've got a lot of rival fans, bar Spurs fans, who are all saying how amazing we're playing. And that is so lovely to hear. We've been a bit of a banter club, haven't we, for quite a few years, and all the outside influences of what was going on, and and it just wasn't good. But the feeling's amazing. So we head off. We've done our 5-0 this Thursday, and unfortunately, I'm gutted really because I don't really want the World Cup to interrupt any of this. I'm not even into the World Cup, and I've always been into the World Cup, but unfortunately, with their human rights record and everything else, not interested in it. I'm not at all. Will I watch England? Probably. But I've always been a club over country girl. And the fact that they're disrupting our Premier League, not happy about it. But we are where we are. And we've got a couple more games in the Premier League before. I think we've got Chelsea and Wolves. But first off, let's talk about Zurich. What does he do, Cooks, on Thursday? We want top. We want to win it. But we've got Chelsea on Sunday and we want to win that. So what does he do Thursday for you?
I think just a bit of sensible rotation. I wouldn't be looking to change the entire 11, but at the same time, I'd be conscious that we have got that game very early on Sunday, 12 o'clock. So I would hopefully get the game won in the first half, be 2-3 goals up, hopefully 3. And then we could take off the big hitters at half time or, 60 minutes and have them fresh for the game on Sunday. I mean, I definitely wouldn't start Saka even if he's back. I think the only one I would potentially start out of that front three would be Martinelli. Martinelli and Ketia, and I'd keep Nelson in the team because I know, arguably if Nelson is filling in for Saka for the upcoming games, you'd probably think, okay, maybe we rest him in this game against Zurich. But nah, I think definitely keep this momentum going with him. And because he's barely played any football, if he plays on Thursday, then plays again on Sunday, that shouldn't be a problem whatsoever. And I'm not sure what the situation is with Elneny. If Elneny's back, I would start him and I would play Sambi in that number 8 role because I think that's where he's more likely to succeed at Arsenal if he is to have a career here, potentially competing with Xhaka for that role. Because I think, as much as I want him to be the party replacement, he's not that guy. Really sorry, but he's not. And I think if he is going to have a future, it has to be further up the pitch because that's where he was very good in pre-season. So that's potentially something I would do. I would like to see Vieira start again. My only worry with him is I have to say, very disappointed with him again when he came on the pitch the other day. Was disappointed with him against PSV. Really bad when he came on against Southampton. Just seems to be really out of sorts at the minute. I think that might be down to a lack of game time, but he does look like a child amongst men at times. Don't know if you guys have noticed that, but he's so small and other players just look so big when coming up against him. I mean, you see him going down, throwing his arms in the air. He's just not physically
I think
up
it's
to it.
time. I think it's time with him because I think we've seen some good moments from him that's good. But
Definitely.
I disagree with you about Thursday night, and I actually agree with Carl Stark, which is weird. Play the strongest team from the start, kill the game off, and withdraw them as quick as possible. James, what do you think? Would you do that or not?
I think he's going to do what he's done for the whole way through. If Turner's fit enough to play, he'll probably put him back in. He might start Cedric at right back or Tomiyasu at right back. He's definitely going to play Gabriel because he likes that left-footed centre half and he hasn't got another one. And Xhaka's the marathon man, so Xhaka's going to play. So I reckon it'll probably be Lokonga in that 6 role, trying our best to get something out of him. I know it's hard. I know positionally he's not that guy, but I think we're going to keep banging that drum until something happens. You've got to play Vieira for me, like what Cookie said. I think we need to see something for him. And I've just seen that Marquinhos apparently is playing for the under-23s, so I don't know if he's going to be playing on Thursday if he's in the under-23s tonight.
It's weird what's happened with Marquinhos. Like he seemed to be playing quite a bit and then suddenly he's just disappeared.
Yeah.
Maybe he needs game time, so he's going to play for the under-23s a lot. Mm-hmm. Right, so Zurich, let's have a couple of predictions. I'm going to write them down. Cooks, what do you reckon?
4-0.
Oh, really? Okay. Will?
Yeah, I was going to say 4-0, but just to be different, I'll go 3-0.
And I think 2-0, actually. So that'll put us through, top of the group. Then we head off to the Bridge, which is really interesting because they're not great. They are not great, but we have to turn up. I didn't realise it was 12 o'clock. I thought we were the 4:30. So, yeah, it does put a bit of a spin on things, doesn't it? So what you've got Chelsea, then you've got Brighton midweek in the League Cup, then Wolves at 7:45 on the Saturday night. So in effect, from Chelsea to Wolves, you're doing your hair, babe, you all right? Oh, he's got longer hair than me. From Chelsea to Wolves, you could have the week off if he plays, most of the fringe players against Brighton. Chelsea, does he stick with the team that he went with on Saturday?
Yeah,
would
he
you
will.
play? Yeah,
he will.
But would you, if everyone's fit?
I would rather. If everyone's fit, then no. Zinchenko plays left back, doesn't he?
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Over Tierney for you?
Yeah, if Zinchenko's fit, he's the starting. Sorry, the technical level that he possesses compared to Tierney's it's night and day. The guy's amazing. If he was Man City's best technical player on the ball, what is he at Arsenal? He's got to be our best one as well. If he was City's
but it's
best
interesting.
One,
my City mates were, as soon as this was mooted about Jesus and Zinchenko, raved about Jesus and said you are going to get a player, but they didn't rave about Zinchenko. They said he's going to be found out. So every match I watch him and I go, well, I haven't found him out yet. I love watching him. I think he's brilliant.
You can see defensively he's not as good, But what he
No.
offers going into the middle and offensively is night and day. You haven't got that out of any of the other players that are in that squad. Sorry.
So against Chelsea, what's your prediction, Cooks?
I really can't call this one. It's going to be so hard. I mean, like you say, Chelsea haven't been great recently. I mean, that Brighton game, I think, evidenced what had been coming for a little while. I follow a few Chelsea fans on Twitter, and they said they were very fortunate not to go a couple of goals behind against Villa, not to go a couple of goals behind against United. So I think they got what was coming to them, with all due respect in that game against Brighton. But I think, that result, I don't know if that's going to do us any favours or not, because they might reassess how they play. Potter seems to change the formation every single game for them. They don't really have much in the way of wide men. I know they've got Sterling, but they seem to play him kind of as a wing back. So, I mean, this could be a good game for Tomiyasu, actually, because we don't necessarily need to worry too much about width. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think we'll do very well to win there. Form out the window. I'm going to be optimistic. I'm going to say 2-1.
Okay. James?
Yeah, I'm exactly the same as Cookie and Nigel. I'm going 2-1 Arsenal, because that is the next test.
Yeah.
Everything that's been thrown at us, the only one that they can use at the moment is they haven't gone to the big side and won away this season. Yeah. That's the last thing we need to do. And I think we're going to climb that mountain by hook or by crook, and I think we're going to do it.
Okay, so I don't, and I'm going for 2-1.
Oh, Amanda.
I know. I just think it could be that one step too far, and I'd be all right with 2-2 if I'm honest.
A draw wouldn't be a bad result.
No, it wouldn't. It wouldn't be a bad result.
Yeah, I'll take it. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely take it now. That's for sure. Because it's one of those games, isn't it? They're not great. We should beat them, but VAR, you don't know what the ref, anything could go against. We might not turn up. You just I don't
think we should beat them, because I do think they are still a quality side. I hate to say it, but I watched them in that game against Salzburg, and they did look really good at times. It's just they leave so many spaces in behind, and they're defensively, they're just all over the place. So that's why I think we can really punish them.
We can. And also, do you remember a couple of weeks ago, Cooks, that we were talking about Potter signing for Chelsea, and I said, it doesn't match for me. I just don't think he's going to make it there. I don't see him as a Chelsea manager, if I'm honest, but we'll have to wait and see, and hope not. Hopefully I'm right, and hopefully they're not very good. Boys, one other thing I just wanted to point out. I had so many people over the last week or so ask me for tickets for Forest at home yesterday. I felt so bad because I haven't got any spare tickets. Yeah, when I looked around the stadium yesterday, there were a lot of empty seats. And I really want to put this out there. If you've got a season ticket and you can't go, put it on Ticket Exchange and let other people have a chance. Because honestly, there were genuine Arsenal fans that are literally not begging me for tickets, but I say, tweet me and I'll retweet for you. But it's so sad that I was looking around thinking, God, so many Arsenal fans could have been here today. Oh, it wasn't empty or anything, but there was quite a few seats. So that's my little rant. Just put it on Ticket Exchange. You're not allowed to give them to your friends or do anything like that, but that's better than nothing, if you know what I mean. And I'm not saying that, but just put it on Ticket Exchange. Right, boys, thank you for an amazing 1 hour and nearly 10 minutes. It's been fantastic. It's gone so quick. And LL Cool J, thank you so much. You must come back.
I appreciate the invite. Thank you.
I always love having you on pods. And everyone in the chat room, show your love for my little mate, LL Cool J. I love him. He's absolutely brilliant. And the first time I met him, his dating story was one of the funniest, and I still laugh to this day.
She ordered more than me. It's a joke. Absolute joke.
Ordered more than you, and you paid with vouchers. I just love it.
Yeah, and she moaned, and yet she ate more than me.
Right, everyone in the chat room, Lynn, Fiona, Carl, Sultan Murad Han. I love that. Tell me where you're all from and I'll put it up quickly before we leave. So we got Zurich. We're all going for a win on Zurich. You two are going for a win at Stamford Bridge. I'm going for the draw and praying that. Then we've got, as we said, Brighton. I will be doing a show in the next couple of weeks. And what I'm doing during the World Cup, everybody, is I'm having special guests on, and the show is going to be called What Arsenal Means to Me. And I think the first one up is going to be Stuart, the photographer's coming back. And wow, what stories he's going to have over the last couple of months, and also what it means to him. So this is so lovely. I love this. Tracy is in Australia, and I don't know what time it is, but it's the middle of the night. John, thank you for joining us. You're a new little subscriber, so that's really sweet. I love having newbies here. Alabama. Do you know, I'm always fascinated where people are from around the world that actually watch us. Reading. Big up to Reading. Just logged in from Texas. Hey, Texas. Ireland, Sweden, everybody. It's just, Washington. That's where you're from. And Carl Stark is from the People's Republic of Romford. Big up Romford. That's where we're from. Peckham, love it. Thank you, everyone. Listen, I always appreciate everyone joining us in the chat room. Please press like. Please subscribe. And especially if you're top of the league, press that like button. Thank you, Cookie. We'll be back. I don't know when, but we'll be back probably, thinking about it, post-Chelsea. I actually missed doing this show yesterday. Last night I was buzzing. I just wanted to talk about it. But it's actually nice to calm down a little bit and do it the day later, isn't it? Cooks, my thanks to you. We'll chat. Thank you for joining me again.
No need to thank me. Thank you for having me on.
You're welcome. You're part of the same old Arsenal podcast crew now. So you're one of my little right-hand man. James, LL Cool J, thank you again. Absolutely loved having you in the show. You'll definitely be coming back. Everyone in the chat room, we're top of the league. Enjoy it. Thank you to everybody. I love you all. I love all the support and all the tweets and all the YouTube comments. Please comment in the box below because it's really cool for other people to get to see. Andy Love, I'm just going to finish with that. Not enough shows, Amanda. We want more. You're going to get more. Got some great guests coming on during the World Cup. Right. Top of the league. Good night, everyone. Happy Halloween. See you all soon. Bye. Up.